All right, we're on Daf Kof Aleph, and we are almost finished the Pedic. We're going to finish tomorrow, actually. And tonight we have two topics. One is the concept of Gud Ahit Mechitza, which is that a wall can extend downwards. Where you're more used to Gud Asik, which is the wall extending upwards, which is very useful for Sukkah. So that's the first topic. And the second topic is tying two boats together and carrying from one to the other, which was the end of the Mishnah. Okay, so we start with the statement of Rav Huna. Ma Rav Huna, Hane bisi ata de meshan en metaltalin bahen ella be'arba'a. They have these small boats in the city of Meshan that were very narrow at the bottom. And because they're so narrow, they don't have even 4 tefachim at the bottom. I'll show you a picture here. So because they're so narrow, one cannot carry in them because we need a minimum width in order to be a Reshut HaYachid. You need a minimum width of 4 by 10. So it has the 10 height, but it doesn't have a floor that's wide. Even though it gets wider up here, it's no good because within the first 3 tefachim, it has to expand 4 tefachim. Right? The first 3 tefachim, that's considered lavud. That's all considered one. And so it's got to go out more, kind of like the middle option here, that's just fine. And so therefore, if you are in this small boat, you can only carry 4 amot or less than 4 amot, because it's considered a karmelit. It's like the ocean expanse. And so you cannot carry a lot. That's the teaching of Rav Huna. Now we have a question on Rav Huna. No, there's a clarification, a limitation. Lamaran ela she'en bepachot mishelosha arba'a, aval yesh bepachot mishelosha arba'a let lan ba. And this is only true if within the first 3 tefachim it doesn't expand. But as I said, if it expands quickly within the first 3 tefachim, then that's okay. V'malenhu kaneh ve'urbaneh let lan ba. Also, another way to get around this is if you fill up the bottom with straw or anything, then that's all considered filled up, and then you can count the floor at the point where it will be 4 tefachim. So as long as the flooring is within 4 tefachim of up here where it does get wide, then that's also fine. So there's lots of ways to make this Reshut HaYachid. You just have to make sure that somewhere along the line it will have that measurement. Sorry. Okay. Okay, now, so that's Rav Huna's statement. That is a limitation. He's machmir. Comes Rav Nachman to say, why not be mekel? Matkif Rav Nachman, v'le magod achit mechisata. Why not say that these walls here should go extend downward? If you remember in yesterday's sugya, we already assumed that one can do this. We didn't see these beautiful pictures yesterday. So when you want to draw water up into a boat, you make a box like this, and we assume that the walls extend down to the bottom of the ocean. And that way you can draw up. So we already assumed that you can extend downwards. So in this case too, why don't you say, Rav Huna, that you extend these downwards? And so it doesn't matter if the floor is wide or not. At some point, it'll be wide enough. And so we can, extend it as far as we want. Okay, in the end, we're going to accept Rav Nachman's challenge here, and we're going to accept that you can extend walls downward on water, but not on land. We'll see why. So it's very interesting. Mila Tanya, we have a baraita that will back up Rav Nachman said. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Na'atz kaneh b'reshut harabim b'rosho teraskal, ve'zarak v'nach al gabav hayav, alma amrinan god achet mechisata. He says, look at a case of if you have a pole in the middle of a Reshut Rabim and you have a basket on top, and the basket is big enough to be 4 by 4 tefachim, and you throw something from Reshut Rabim onto the basket, the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says, Hayav. Well, why would you say Hayav? That means it is a Reshut HaYachid, because it has the width, and it has, although it doesn't go down all the way down, it starts going down a bit. It has 3 tefachim of height here, and we imagine a legal fiction as if it's going all the way down to the floor. And so you see, we do say the concept of agud achit mechisata on land, so we should say it on the water as well, and assume that it will go down at any point. right? It will have to be here, where the walls are. So this is he has a good question. He has a good proof. Matkif Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef will reject that proof. ולשמיע להו להא דאמר רב יהודה אמר רב ומתו בה משום רבי חייא ותני עלה. Doesn't he know that statement that some say in the name of Rav, some in the name of Rabbi Xiya, and they said about this statement of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, they said Tane Allah Chachamim Potrim, that he is a Dat Yachid who says Hayav. The other Chachamim say Patur in this case, right? In this case, so in other words, according to Chachamim, it does not go down, and so you see most of the sages did not say Gud Achit Mechisata. Okay, so now that will support Rav Huna's original statement. Amar le'Abaye b'shut harabim gavoa asara v'rachav arba'a ve'en be'ikaro arba'a ve'yesh bakasa shelo shelosha ve'zarak ve'nach al gabav hayav amrinan god achit mechisata. All right, so in this case with the basket, Chachamim said patur. But there's another case that's similar but a little bit different. If I have a column that is 10 high, on the top, it's 4 by 4, but on the bottom, it's only 3. So, right, it's just a little tiny bit skinnier. And here, everyone agrees that chayav, if you throw from the Reshut Harabim onto this is considered Reshut Yachid. So it sounds like everyone agrees in this case that you would extend downwards. I guess being almost there is good enough. And so now we're back to saying, yes, we do have good asik, good achit, and so too, hachaname, god achit mechisata. So too, in the case of the boat, we should be able to say god achit mechisata and follow this opinion here. Mide iriya. Wait a second. Are these really comparable? The basket and the boat. Hatam havia lemechisa she'agedayim bok'ain ba. Hacha havia lemechisa she'ena gedayim bok'ain ba. The reason why in this case Chachamim said patur is because you can't use a legal fiction when a little goat can actually walk through. In other words, you can think of a legal fiction, that's fine, as long as there's some way that it can be a fence and protected in some way. You can't have a legal fiction when goats are walking back and forth. It breaks the legal fiction. And so that's why in this case, Chachamim say we do not say gud achit mechisata. It would make sense, therefore, in this case, that you would say it because it is, after all, almost there, so they wouldn't be able to pass through. In the case of a boat, well, the boat, no one's going, it's in the middle of the water, so no goats are passing through under there. So then we should be able to use the legal fiction in the case of the boat. And again, so here in the boat, they cannot go through. Amar le Rav Acha bered Rav Acha le Rav Asher agabe sefina nameh ha'akate beki'at dagim. Hold on, in the boat too, fish can pass through, right? Fish can pass through this area under the boat, and so you're going to imagine as if this goes down, but the fish are passing through. So it is the same as a goat. No, you don't count fish passing through as a violation, as a breach of the boat. They're under the water, they're just fish. How do we know? How do you know that fish are not counted? Because we once had a question that Rav Tabla asked Rabin, and he said, "Mechitzat teluya ma'u shetatir bechurba." And yet another case. This is a case where you have a ruin, a house that the walls are partly destroyed, and you have the wall above is okay, but below it's not okay. But below is empty. Right? Somehow it got destroyed that way. Something rammed through it. And so we asked that question over there, do you consider the top part of the wall as if it's full and goes all the way down to the floor or not? And Amar le en mechisa teluya materet. And we said a hanging wall does not permit one to carry ela b'mayim. And when we talked about that, we said except for water. So you see that we did allow water. Kalu shekel lachamim b'mayim. In general, we don't say gud achit mechitza. The wall does not extend down on land, but the rabbis had a special leniency regarding water, regarding boats. I guess a lot of boats are shaped like that, and so this was important. Well, how could they make that leniency? Aren't there fish passing through? So that's the leniency, that the rabbis did not count the fish going through to be anything. And so since this is all the Rabbanan, the rabbis were allowed to be mekel in that case. So in conclusion, this kind of boat here, even if it's narrow and doesn't get up to 4 tefachim fast, it's still okay. You can carry along the whole boat. It's still considered the shutei achid because we do consider the walls as if they're going down. However, on land, we do not consider them going down, and that is a practical significance regarding building a sukkah. If you build a sukkah and you make a short wall, 32.5 or 3 feet, it can go all the way up to the schach, no problem. But if there's a wall up on top and it doesn't extend down to the floor, then you have a problematic sukkah. Okay, very good. So now we get to the boats that are tied together. Sifinot keshurot. If you want to remember, the Mishnah was here. Sifinot keshurot zo bazo metaltilin mizo lazo. As long as they're tied one to another, you can carry from one boat to the other. It's like carrying from the shutei achid to the shutei achid. That'll be fine. If they're not tied to each other, even though they are adjacent, and right now they're next to each other, but they might float away, so then you cannot carry from one to the other. All right, so let's analyze this further. Pishita, of course, if they're tied to each other, they're one. Of course, you could go from one to the other. Oh, this is coming to teach us to include yet another case of this. A bitzit is a small, like when you have a big ship, it can't go too close to the shore or too close to each other. So you'd have a bitzit, you have a little rowboat, and you'd use that to ferry back and forth. And so if the bitzit happens to be between them, then you could carry from here inside and outside. And so they're all considered one, even this little boat. And that's what it's coming to add. All right, good. Amar le Rav Safra, Moshe, Shapir Ka'amat. Rav Safra tells Rava, he calls him Moshe. His name was not Moshe, but he says, you're like Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Moshe, what a nice chidush you said. Really fantastic. But, and there's always a but, right? But you have a problem because what you said is going to go against this Mishnah. The Mishnah, our Mishnah that says metaltilin mizo lazo. The Mishnah that we're dealing with, that we're commenting on, just says you can carry from one boat to the other. So you're adding something, but your addition does not really fit with the words of the Mishnah. It's a mizo lazo tenan. Ella amar Rav Safra, although he called him Moshe, maybe he's being sarcastic. Right? Wow, you're like Moses. You can't read a Mishnah. Okay. So he says another one. Lo nisrecha ela le'arev u'taltel mizo lazo. What it's teaching us is that you need to make an aruv. Just like any shared property between two people, you have to join them together with a common meal. So you make an eruv, and then you can join them together. Uchedetanya, and have a baraita to back it up. Sifinot keshurot zo bazo me'arbin u'metaltelin mizo lezo nifseku ne'esru. So you see, it says if you make an eruv, then you can, if they're tied together and you make an eruv, you can carry. If they separate, then it nullifies the eruv. Chazru v'nikshiru, somehow they got back together on Shabbat, ben shogigin, whether by mistake, ben mizidin, even if you violated Shabbat, it would be a violation to bring the boats back together and tie them again. But even if you did it in violation of Shabbat, or ben anusin, or it was beyond your control, ben mut'in, or you made a mistake and you forgot that it was not allowed, doesn't matter how it gets back, chazru leteran harishon. As long as before Shabbat they were tied to each other, you can carry back and forth. If they were untied and separated somehow, you have to stop carrying back and forth. If they were retied by you, by someone else, however it happened, then it goes back to its heter status. You can carry back and forth. V'chen machalasot apirusot. Similarly, this baraita is continuing. If you have the mats that are partitions in the Shut Rabim, me'alvim metaltelim ezo lezo, niglelu nesru, chazur nifreshu, ben shogegin, ben mezidin, ben anusin, ben mut'in, chazur leheteran harishon. And so, for example, here, if you're in the Shut Rabim and before Shabbat, you take these mats and these temporary mats, and you make partitions between each person. Each person has his own domain, but they can carry from one to the other if they make an eruv. Let's say on Shabbat, somehow they get rolled up and they're no longer there, but then somehow they go back to the way it was. That's fine. You can carry again. You don't say that once it's canceled, it's canceled. No, um, it does revert back to its heter status. Okay, we didn't really need that case, but we did need this case here of the boats. So you see that that's true. So you need an eruv, and that's what Rav Safra says the Mishnah is telling us. Shekol mechisa b'Shabbat ben shegmar b'mezid shema mechisa. Any mechisa that's made on Shabbat, as long as it was there before, is a good mechisa. Ini, hold on, we have a contradiction. Is this really so? V'amar Rav Nachman lo shanu ela lizrok aval leteltel asur. Rav Nachman said all this halacha that you can carry when they're tied together, that's only to throw from one to the other, but not to actually carry. Ki itmad Rav Nachman amezid itimad. Well, when Rav Nachman said that limitation, that was only if you rebuilt it on purpose, b'mezid. Then there's a kanas, there's a fine that you can't use it fully, but you can still use it partially, right? So once again, if I have this case, I made this before Shabbat, and then the wind came and blew them away, and now if I'm mezid against Shabbat, knowing it's Shabbat, knowing it's asur, I violate Shabbat and rebuild it. Well, I'm chayav for violating Shabbat. But in that case, I can still throw from one to the other. But since I violated Shabbat on purpose, I can't actually carry from one to the other. However, if by mistake or if someone else came and put it together, then I can throw and I can carry. So that would be the same. Would be true regarding the boats. Okay, so that finishes that discussion, and now Shemuel has a different discussion, and this will be the last item on our sugya. Amar Shemuel va'afilu kishurot behut hasarbal. When you tie these two boats together, even if just use a string, a sash, that's fine. Which seems like a pretty flimsy string to hold two boats together. It's like, I don't know, symbolically they have to be tied together. So we ask on this, if it's a strong rope that can hold them together, then it's obvious. What does Shemuel have to tell us that for? If it can't hold the boats together, then why is it good? Well, what is this legal fiction? Why is he saying this? Oh, you know what? It has to be the first case, that it's a strong rope and it can, in fact, hold the boats together. So why did Shemuel say that? We said Peshita. Shemuel had to say this to clarify, lest you get a wrong impression from a different halacha that Shemuel said. And here's this other halacha in the realm of a tuman tahara. He said something about boats as well. So let's explain that, and then we'll see how it relates to this. Ditnan, Mishnah in Masechet Ohalot says, Keshara b'davar ma'amida, mebi la tum'ah. B'davar she'en ma'amida, and maybe la tum'ah. So his case is as follows. If you have two boats tied to each other, get that, and there's a dead body on one of the boats. Okay, let's say here, this boat has a dead body on it. Now, dead body is metameh be'ohel, right? So imagine there's a covering on this, covering on the entire boat. And there's a special law regarding tumat ohel of a met, that any metal that's under the tent becomes avi avot hatum'ah, just like the dead body. And so now, if I have this tent, and now I have a metal chain between the two, so the dead body will make an ohel. The ohel will cause the metal chain under it to become avi avot hatum'ah. Since that's touching the next boat, it's going to cause the other boat to also be tameh. That's if it's made out of metal. However, if it's made out of just rope, then you wouldn't have that. Then that wouldn't be the case, because then that's a lower level of tumah, and that lower level of tumah would not transfer to another object. So back here, that's what he said. If you tied it with something that's ma'amida, something strong, and here's what Shemuel says: V'amar Shemuel, when it says something strong, it means it made out of metal, because it will conduct the tumah more. If it's too loose, if it's not strong enough, then it won't bring the tum'ah to the other vessel. So, since Shemuel said in this context that it has to be a metal chain, so you might have thought here too on Shabbat it has to be a metal chain. If you want to carry from one boat to the other, they have to be connected by a metal chain. That's why Shemuel says, I don't want anyone to make a mistake and think that you should make an analogy between what I said there and this one and this Mishnah. So that's why he says regarding this Mishnah, in this case, even if it's connected by a rope. But when he said rope, it means something not made out of metal. He didn't mean a flimsy one that you would actually use just on your clothing. He meant a really strong rope. So to clarify,
why does Shmuel here care if it's ma'amidah or not? As long as it's metal, if it can be just kind of made out of tinfoil, the metal it conducts. What difference does it make if it's ma'amidah?
Right. Oh, okay, good. So the Mishnah says the word ma'amidah. That's just what the word Mishnah says. Shemuel is going into the logic of it and said, well, what's the difference if it's strong or weak? I mean, Tumah doesn't care if it's strong or weak. It might. We can go and analyze that Mishnah there. Maybe if it's strong, it's considered one utensil or somehow. But anyway, Shemuel's opinion is that it's the metal of it that's transferring. So that's why he explains it as metal there.
Okay.
So linyan tumah hu tichti b'halal chereb. Chereb harehu kehalal. In aval linyan Shabbat kevan de'achol ha'amidah afilu b'chut hasarbal. Only regarding tumah, the pasuk says b'halal chereb or b'met. Right, regarding the laws of tumah met, it says if it touches something that is a chereb, something that is made out of metal, like a sword, then it becomes like the halal, like the corpse, and it gets the same level of tumah. That's true regarding tumah, but regarding Shabbat, as long as it can hold it together, but it does have to hold it together, it can be made out of anything. It can even be made out of rope. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'amen.